Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237. Kind of don't know what to say. I just got back from the movie theater, and I just saw Doctor Sleep, which I've been wanting to see for a while. Finally got around to it. Of course, it is based on the novel Doctor Sleep, written by Stephen King, that came out in 2013, which in and of itself is a sequel to his novel, The Shining. This is a cheap-ass edition. I would absolutely love to have first edition, but they're fucking expensive. So yeah, it's a sequel to The Shining, which in and of itself, it is also a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, which is my number one favorite movie of all time. Has been since I was about 10 or 11 years old. I've had this DVD itself since Christmas of 2003. I've had this very copy for 16 years. Now, in high school, I might have said Taxi Driver is my favorite movie for a while, or Clockwork Orange for a while, but I've always come back to The Shining. Words can't express how much I love this movie. This one, not so much. Of course, Stephen King's not a fan of this one, because it's so different from this, so he made this in '97. That's what I think of that. I did a trailer reaction for this months ago when the first trailer was released. And I will admit, there were parts of it I loved. The recreation of certain scenes, the look of certain parts of the trailer, the ending of the trailer, which had the music of DSRA, which is the theme to this. Blah, 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 blah. Because I was curious, where's this movie going to go? Because King is not a fan of this. He wrote a book, Doctor Sleep, so it's got to be based on that. But being a sequel to this or this, how's it going to work? Because the endings are drastically different. But from a studio standpoint, Warner Brothers, they got to make it a sequel to this. This is the one people love. This is the one that's going to get people to come in. Directed by Mike Flanagan, who the only other thing I've seen was his Netflix adaptation of Stephen King's Gerald's Game, which I thought was very well done. I did not see his series House on Haunted Hill. And so half of the trailer I loved. You know, he had that Kubrick symmetry, which is present in the film. There will be spoilers, but I'm going to give a warning before I get into spoilers. I'm going to say everything I want to say for people who haven't seen it before that. The other half of the trailer I thought looked like a glorified Blumhouse film. I hate Blumhouse movies. I hate modern supernatural horror films. I just think, you know, they're cheap. I don't know why people love them. Don't know. And part of this movie did kind of feel like a glorified Blumhouse film, but done in a good way. Ultimately, I was profoundly impressed by this movie. I was incredibly impressed. I spent 25% of this film, the first 10 or 15 minutes, and the whole third act, with goosebumps, my jaw to the floor, flabbergasted. I sat through almost the whole end credits because, you know, people just walking by because I was stunned. Minor spoiler, it does end, the end credits does have the same Midnight, the Stars and You as the credits in this. Now, I've been excited for this movie because I've never seen this in theaters. When I went to go see Joker, there was a trailer for Doctor Sleep. It showed the blood elevator. It played the music. That's the closest I've ever seen. Unless there's like an anniversary or a Fathom event, I'm never going to see this on the big screen. This movie, if Doctor Sleep is the closest I ever get to seeing The Shining in theaters, I can die happy. I can die fulfilled. So, okay. I was doing some reading yesterday because Doctor Sleep is bombing. It hasn't made its budget back yet, which sucks. And I was reading about it, and some people were saying how the trailer makes it look like it's for older people. Not because of R-rated content, but just because of, I guess, it seems too intellectual. Doesn't seem like it's aimed at younger people, which, God forbid, we don't try to appeal to the widest audience possible. Sorry, there's a movie that's not intellectually devoid, like fucking Unfriended or Ouija or Annabelle or, Truth or Dare or any of those kinds of intellectually devoid younger people movies. Heaven forbid we have an actual sophisticated, smart horror film. It's saying how most ticket sales are for people over the age of 24. Big fucking deal. I'm 27. Hey, thanks. You made something for us. I was excited. It wasn't until I pulled into the theater did I start having my doubts. Like, am I going to get what I deserve for getting my hopes up? Is it going to be that kind of scenario? But I'm going to say this right now. I was impressed. I was probably more impressed than I was when I saw Joker. Now, Joker, I would still probably say is the best movie of the year. But I sort of had a feeling that was going to be a good movie. This was on thin ice for me. Because this, to me, is untouchable. When it is touchable, you get shit like this. So, 7.5 minutes in, I haven't really gotten to a point. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to do another review when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray. I'm going to watch it again in my home. Not have that first time viewing sort of, because there is sort of a euphoric feeling when you see a movie in theaters, even if it's bad. So yeah, the first 10-15 minutes in the whole third act is very, very, very much a sequel to this. And very well done. The rest might as well be a sequel to this. I haven't read Doctor Sleep, so I can't say how loyal and faithful it is to that book. But for those that don't know, the story of Doctor Sleep is, it's 35 years later. Danny Torrance is now an adult. He's starting to live out his life like his father. He's an alcoholic. He still shines. He finds meaning in his life. He works at an old folks' home as an orderly. And he sees he can use his talent to shine to help old, dying patients relax into death more comfortably and more soothing. There's a little girl named Abra who has a very powerful form of shining. And also, this has been going on for years and years and years, generations and generations. There's this cult, which I'm guessing the book makes it sound more like a cult, like a coven of witches. This makes it more like a cult, headed by this woman named Rose the Hat, because she always wears like a top hat. Her cult goes around finding others who shine, mostly children, abducting them, killing them, and absorbing their power. I don't think they shine to begin with. I think they just do that to gain the power and they live longer. they learn about Abra's existence and the level of her power, and they become her focus, and Danny must protect her. Even if that means opening up some old doors, like to the Overlook, to help her. It is 2.5 hours, and I would sort of liken the sequel part of it to like Ash versus the Evil Dead, because Evil Dead 1 and 2 are separate films. 2 is a remake of 1 essentially, but Ash vs. Evil Dead is a sequel to both. That's kind of what Dr. Sleep does. It juggles itself by being a sequel to Kubrick and Stephen King. And the whole midsection I thought was very well done. Again, I'm not a fan of Blumhouse, which, is this even a Blumhouse film? Hold on. I'm not even sure. Jason Blum. Okay, it's not even a Blumhouse film, but it kind of feels like one, but done the right way. There's some very interesting camera work, some very original tricks and things that I haven't seen before. It looks great. It's very well acted. The young girl, Abra, played by Kylie Curran. She's probably 14, 15. She did a great job. Everybody in this film did a great job. And then the whole third act deals with it. You can tell from the trailer that they go there, the Overlook, and it's done very much towards Kubrick's vision. And I can't say how impressed I am with this. So, with that, I'm going to go into spoilers. Whether you're a fan of this version or the not, again, I can't talk about it in terms of the novel because I haven't read it. Or if you're a fan of this, I really do feel like it's trying to accommodate to both ends. It does, like, there are times where it's very accommodating to this, and there's a good chunk of it that is very much this. So I commend Mike Flanagan and Warner Brothers for doing that. All the things that had to do with this film, I wasn't let down at all. In fact, I can't give anything but praise because of the example of what I mean, because of the trailer. You see the red rum door, the look of the 237 bathroom. Even the camera work is very Kubrick-esque. The trailer has that scene with Danny running through the main hall. That's recreated for this film. And all the actors that play characters from Kubrick's, man, oh fucking man, did they get great actors that play those, like, the child that plays young Danny. His costume is like thread for thread recreated. The set, the exterior is not the Overlook from that film. Some scenes maybe. The interior, if it's not the same set, because they did some aging, made it look run down. If it's not the same set, the set designers deserve a bonus, because that is painstaking, like, detail and respect. I praise Dr. Sleep. If you're a fan of any version of The Shining, go fucking see it. But with that, getting into spoilers. So, like I was just saying, the actors. We do see Wendy. And the actress that plays Wendy, she was fucking Shelley Duvall. The way she looks, the way she talks. There's even a part, like, in the beginning when she's running after Danny. The way she runs. She is fucking Shelley Duvall. She did so great. The guy that plays Dick Halloran, he's sort of a mix of Scatman Crothers and uh, Melvin Van Peebles. He looks closer to Melvin Van Peebles, but like the bald head and the costume, he has the same blue suit as, you know, when he's having ice cream with Danny. Great fucking job with him. All the characters they recreate Lloyd. Like, at first, like when Danny walked into the gold room, everything was done, like, I had such chills when, like, the way Danny walked down that hall to go to the gold room. It looked just like when Jack was and the way he walked into the gold room, and the way the bar lit up, and just the way we heard him say, like, "Slow night, Mr. Torrance." Like, there's even lines that are sort of sequeled to this, but he calls himself Lloyd, but it's Jack, and he looks just like Jack Nicholson. I was amazed. But it does blend the sequel to this. You know, the whole thing about whiskey being a medicine, having to take your medicine, you know, straight from this. I liked the part when Danny is at his 8-year AA meeting, and he gives this heartfelt thing about, his father's anger, but he's at that meeting for his dad. I thought that was very well done. In fact, the first scene when he first goes to AA and it opens up with the Serenity Prayer, I found myself saying it along with the film. I've been going to AA for 21 months now. 21 months last week. Especially when he goes to the Overlook and that music plays again and it recreates the aerial shot. The pond with that little island, how the camera does like that swoop around it. There's an aerial view of the car going through the tunnel. I mean, I had fucking goosebumps. It was so well done. And it's a horror film. So even the beginning, like when Danny's still a kid, and it shows the lady in the bathtub, like door room 237 opens and you sort of see her kind of in the darkness. Or when he's at his home and he's walking towards the bathroom to put her in his subconscious box. It wasn't like a boom, boom, you're scared now. It was done very well, and it looked fucking creepy. The whole story itself, with the cult, Rose the Hat. I have seen some reviews where people are saying she's not that interesting of a villain. Yeah, sometimes she's not, but ultimately, she was a villain that, I loved to hate. I couldn't wait to see her get her comeuppance. By definition, that's a good villain. And her whole crew. I liked the idea of, pain brings out the steam. How the steam is the shining. How they kill them to get the steam out and they absorb it or they keep it in a canister. But, like, when they die, the grandfather Flick, who was the apparition in Gerald's game, who was also the tall alien between the two old guys in the first Men in Black. He was also Lurch in the Raul Julia Adams Family's movies. It was great to see him. When he dies, as he's dying, like every breath he takes, it kind of goes into like this, like skeletal, like rotting formation. So great effects. Some CGI, but I thought it looked great. The music cues, other than the Shining theme, like there's parts of The Shining where it's like blah blah blah, dun dun. That was in there. When Danny goes up to get his fire engine wearing the Mickey Mouse sweater, and you hear that like bell, that ting 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 ting. That has a couple cues in this film. So even though it feels like the Overlook stuff is really like it bookends the film, there was Kubrick stuff sprinkled throughout it. but it also paid great respect to King's version as well. But, you know, that whole third act, man, holy shit. I like how in the original film, we see Danny riding red rum, or even in his visions, we see red rum, but then we see the reflection, it says murder. In this, we see red rum in the reflection, but when we look at it, it says murder. You know, kind of a full circle. The opening of this, the driving to the Overlook is the day, but at the end of this, it's night when we see it. Loved the look of the Overlook. It, especially aged. You know, I like how this movie had the boiler exploding, which of course had me confused. How are they going to do the Overlook because of how it ended in this version? But they did it in this. All the other characters, like the guy that says, great party, isn't it? He's mentioned, but we also see him. The Grady twins, the woman in the bathroom. You know, when they're all coming after Rose the Hat in the Overlook, I kind of had a Goosebumps, like Jack Black Goosebumps kind of feeling. Cause it's like, oh, those characters are coming back out. But I thought they all looked great. The costumes were well done. They still acted like their characters very much. The fact that we were back in the hedge maze and because it shows that The Shining, people stored their bad memories in like a library or a file cabinet. Danny keeps his in locked boxes in the hedge maze. I thought that was great. The fact that we got to see the recreation of the baseball bat staircase scene with Jack and Wendy, but at the same time it's, you know, Rose the Hat and Danny going up the stairs together. You know, they really recreated a lot of stuff and did a sequel version to it. It gave it closure. How The Shining or the Overlook took over Danny and chased Abra throughout the labyrinth of hallways. I can't praise the sequel stuff to this enough. The painstaking detail, the music, the look, so much respect and care was put into it. The midsection I still thought was very well too. You know, the whole thing with the cult, the relationship between Danny and Abra, all the actors involved, one of which, I'm not sure who he was. I did see the credits, because when the credits came up, it said Bruce Greenwood, who voiced Batman several times in animated films like Under the Red Hood. He played a guy named Dr. John. I'm not sure which character that was. But one of the kids they killed, the baseball boy, the spectator, and the parents that says, hey, this kid's really good. That's Danny Lloyd. That's the original Danny. I thought that was great. You know, just I was really impressed by this movie. Again, if I had read Dr. Sleep, I might have had more reservations or more to say about the actual movie itself overall. But, so, I was seeing this as a sequel to this. Or, to be fair, a sequel to this. And, you know, it paid attention to both. And in fact, it added more layers to this. Because when Danny is talking to Lloyd the bartender, but he sees his dad, you know, because Lloyd could possibly be a reflection of the alcoholic within Danny or Jack. Like, is Lloyd like Jack's dad, but as a bartender? You know, it even makes you think about this. Get very well made. I can't praise it enough. Again, and also like the camera work. It seemed pretty inventive during the midsection, but during the Overlook stuff, and the sequel to Kubrick, it was very Kubrick-esque. Even the part like in the beginning when Danny's hungover and he pukes, it's like that aerial shot of him over the toilet. That's perfectly symmetrical. It's a very Kubrick shot. Everything else was like these wide angles with perfect symmetry. I can't praise Dr. Sleep enough. Again, I'm sure some people might have a problem with what it took from this and what it tried to do. It's all subjective. They even recreate this scene with the actors of this film. Man, they fucking nailed it, in my opinion. But ultimately, I was pleased with Dr. Sleep. It ultimately gave closure to Danny, and it did a good job at extending upon both these versions. I'm actually not going to hold that. I'm going to hold this up. And, from what I've heard, Stephen King totally dug this movie too, which also had me worried because he hates this version. But there's so much of this version in Dr. Sleep that I'm thinking, and obviously King's been outspoken. He doesn't like it because of its lack of detail to this, especially the alcoholism. There's plenty of alcoholism in the way it's treated in Dr. Sleep. So I don't think it was a problem with the look of the hotel or any of that stuff. He just wanted it to be resonant with the alcoholism and the rage and resentment towards family, which wasn't exactly present in this. So if he dug this, there were elements he liked in this. And so take it, if King's happy, and me, with this being my #1 favorite movie of all time, and if you follow my channel, you know I can be very cynical. If he's happy and I'm happy, it did a good job at merging all versions of The Shining and being a damn good sequel. I did hear Warner Brothers wants to do a sequel to Dr. Sleep called Halloran, which is going to focus on the Dick Halloran character. But since Dr. Sleep is sadly bombing, at least they're not going to continue with that, so that's an upside. But ultimately, I was very happy with Dr. Sleep. Again, and also when I see movies in theaters, I tend to forget very quickly because I just saw it the once, and it was more of the movie experience than things to talk about. So when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray, I'm definitely going to pick it up. I'll watch it again. I'll do an updated review, and we'll see how I still feel about it. But it's definitely a movie you got to see in theaters. If you're a fan of this, you have to see it in theaters. And I can guarantee you will not be disappointed, in the very least, with the first 10-15 minutes and the whole third act. But with that, I'm going to leave you. I was very pleased with Dr. Sleep. And I can't believe it. My #1 favorite movie got a sequel, and it did a damn good job. I was impressed. But anyway, thank you for watching.